Hey, everybody, welcome. Uh, I'm Tony Martignetti. Welcome. Could you put in your chat? Ooh, my voice just cracked like I'm 13 years old. Could you put in your chat in the chat where you're from? I kicked us off. I'm in Emerald Isle, North Carolina, on the beach. I see Ashley from below freezing Michigan. Ashley, we're actually comparable. You may be further below than I am, but Emerald Isle, North Carolina, we got snow over the weekend, snow overnight, and it's like 25 degrees here. So we have snow on the beach, which is quite rare. Quite rare. I've been here 9 years, and this is only the second time I've seen snow, and this is a lot more than the first time. Indianapolis, welcome. I've been around Indianapolis. Where have I been? Oh, Broad Ripple, Indianapolis. Where else? Yeah, Westfield. I have friends in Westfield, just outside, right? Just outside Indy, I believe. So hello, Lisa. Fairfax, Virginia, DC area. Cool. Lancaster. Oh, I know friends. I have friends in right there in Southwest Pennsylvania, isn't it? Lancaster. Balmy, Minneapolis, I'm sure, right? 14. Oh, who says 14 degrees? Robert, where are you? Robert Lancaster, 14. Cool. All right. You got me beat. We're only 26. I don't know where I don't know what Lisa in Indianapolis and Ashley, Michigan. You can put your temperatures too if you want to share temperature. Little Rock, Arkansas. You got snow there, Chris? Little Rock? Jackson Hole, Wyoming. You're always cold, so we just presume that you're freezing there. Anywhere, right? Anytime from like August to from August to April, you're freezing. Maybe not quite August. Jackson Hole. I'm sure the summers are nice. Arlington. There's somebody else from Arlington. Wait, two folks from Arlington. You guys know each other? Oh, Arlington and Fairfax. That's right. Not so close. All right. I mean, 17 in Arlington. All right. Illinois, 12. Cool. Snow last night. Oh, snow last week. Chris. Okay. 25. That's comparable. That's what we have at the beach here, Emerald Isle, North Carolina, 25. Thanks for joining, everybody. Baltimore, Carrie, welcome. All right. I don't want to take over. It's noon. We're supposed to start. We only have 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop talking.
All right. Well, thanks, Tony. I'm Mike Fisher, Vice President of Client Experience and Sales at Charity Engine. And over the last 15 years, I've worked in nonprofit fundraising as a Chief Development Officer, VP of Development, all on that level. And this last year, I joined Charity Engine, my favorite CRM, to work with other people and nonprofits to help them expand their fundraising. And during my travels, I met many people that were great nonprofit leaders, had a lot of knowledge. And so we thought we'd start a new piece, Elevate Fundraising. And that first part of that series is today. And so Tony is going to talk about planned giving. And with that, Tony Martignetti, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Mike. And thank you for hosting. Thank you to Charity Engine for hosting and making this the inaugural, the first Elevate. So thank you very much. Thank you for doing that. Let's get to the slide we want to be. Indeed, we are going to talk about planned giving. I saw on Twitter X, that the average attention span is 9 seconds. And I thought, that's enough time for my mother to create guilt. As in, I'm coming over for dinner. Can't you stay for the night? I'm coming to stay for the night. Can't you stay the weekend? I'm coming to stay for the weekend. Take me on a cruise. I'm taking you on a cruise. Can't you move back home? I'm moving back home. Let's get cemetery plots. Now, okay, at first blush, of course, that's a bit about motherly guilt. But if you take it a little deeper, it's about wanting a deeper relationship. And that's what I hope that you're going to attain when you launch or grow planned giving fundraising at your nonprofit. Because planned giving, you're going to get into conversations with donors, with long, loyal, committed donors, and you're going to get to know folks very, very well. And you can easily enjoy much deeper relationships with your donors and even potential donors when you launch or grow planned giving. And so that's what we're going to talk about for the 30 minutes that we are together. We're going to talk about the what and why of planned giving, who your best prospects are, what this conversation is all about, and what it's not about. Okay? That's our quick agenda for our time together, starting with the what and why. My very simple explanation or definition of planned giving is that your donors are thinking about their long-term plans, their retirement plans, and their estate plans when they're deciding whether to make a planned gift and how to do it and how you fit in to those long-term plans. So it's much different than writing a check, transferring stock, even writing a big check or transferring a lot of stock. They're long-term plans. How do you fit alongside the donor's husband, wife, partner, children, grandchildren, right? In her long-term plans. How do you fit in? And what we're going to talk about today, because we just have the half hour together, we're going to talk about the simplest planned gift, gifts and wills. And so that means that these are long-term gifts of cash to your nonprofit at the donor's death. Okay? There are other types of gifts we're not going to get to today, but I'm recommending how I think you should launch or grow your planned giving program. And for a lot of you, it may be launching. Look, every planned giving program in North America, name the biggest one you can think of. I didn't see anybody from Canada, but there might be folks with us. Name the biggest one that you can think of. And there was a time when they had 0 planned gifts and 0 endowment. And they've grown since then. And that leads to the why of planned giving. You probably don't need too much motivation because you're here talking about learning about planned giving, but just in case, maybe you have to persuade some others in your nonprofit about why this is the right year to launch planned giving fundraising. It's about your sustainability, how important your work is in your community, and that work be sustained for decades and generations. And how are we going to sustain the work through planned giving? Through your endowment. Either launching your endowment if you've got 0, and again, think of the biggest endowments if you want. I could think of in the US, it's probably one of the universities, might be Harvard, with over $20 billion endowment. There was a time, it was probably in the early 1800s, that they had 0 endowment. It's grown. Don't be discouraged. Don't be dissuaded if your endowment today is 0 or it's very small. Planned giving, because so many of these gifts are unrestricted, can help you launch or grow your endowment. And that includes even the restricted gifts that would be part of your endowment, that long-term savings, right? That you only spend the income or maybe not even all the income of each year. That's what endowment is. And it helps you keep your mission, your work sustainable in the long term. So who are your best prospects, right? You want to be having planned giving conversations with the right folks so that your limited resources are directed at the people who are most likely to say, yes, I will include you alongside my loved ones in my long-term plans. Your best prospects are your consistent, loyal donors. These are the folks who have been giving to you. Now, of course, it's going to depend on how long your nonprofit has been around, but if you've been around for 10, 15, 20 years, these are the folks who've been giving to you for 10, 15, 20 years. If you've been around longer, you may have donors who've been giving to you for 25, 30 years. When you go back and query your CRM for donor loyalty, these are the folks who maybe have over 30 years or 25 years have given you 35 or 40 gifts, because there's sometimes multiple gifts in a year. And notice I've said nothing about the size of those gifts. I literally don't care if those were $5 gifts. I'm not being hyperbolic on the small end. If their average gift is $5, but they've given you 25 gifts in 20 or 25 years, or even if they've skipped some years, it doesn't matter as long as they came back. We don't want to see recently lapsed donors. The last 2 or 3 years they haven't given, they're not your best prospects. But folks who lapsed maybe for a couple of years, so maybe in 20 years they made 15 or 18 gifts, and their average gift size was that small $5, they are an outstanding prospect for a gift in their long-term plans because they think of you so often. They think of you so often. They're the most likely folks to include you in their will or other type of long-term plan, right? So we don't care about the gift size. Now, I'm not saying exclude major donors or larger donors, naturally, but don't query on gift size. You're looking for that loyalty, that commitment, the consistency. That's what you're looking for. And if you have age in your CRM, then look for folks roughly 55 to 60 and over. But I hasten to add, if you don't have age, don't worry about it. Just use that consistency, that loyalty as a proxy. That'll be sufficient. Don't say, "Oh, we don't have age in our CRM. We shut it off." Tony M, whatever his last name is, that's too long. I can't remember it, but shut the guy off. We can't do planned giving. No, don't do that. I mean, you could shut me off, but you don't want to do that. You still can do planned giving. Just use the consistency and the loyalty of the giving. That's your proxy. Don't worry about age. If you do have age, you're looking for folks, again, 55 to 60 and over. Why are those your best prospects? Because those are the age, that's the age bracket where people start thinking about their long-term plans as a way of giving back to the causes that have been important to them and to their families. That's where we start thinking about our long-term plan in that way. I'm not saying that's when we first start thinking about a will or our long-term plans. No, it should be decades before 55 or 60, especially if they're children, because you have guardianship issues that you want to make clear in your will. But that's the age where we start thinking about these long-term plans as a vehicle for giving back, okay? And I do recommend you look to your board for this new fundraising initiative. As in anything substantial that you embark on, I like to see board support, board leadership, actually, and I like the goal of 100% participation among the board, that 100% of your board members have you in their long-term plan. So where do you get started? Bequests, as I mentioned earlier. Charitable bequests, gifts and wills, those two things are identical. I'll use them interchangeably. They mean the exact same thing. A bequest in someone's will means that alongside the bequest to your donor's husband, wife, partner, children, grandchildren, maybe even dear friends are sometimes in our wills. Alongside those bequests, there's a bequest for your nonprofit. There's a gift in their will for your nonprofit. Okay? Again, interchangeable. Charitable bequest, gift in will, they mean the same thing. Now, the keen-eyed among you may have been looking at the bullets there, and you may see that the first letter of each bullet is an homage to our hosts, Elevate. We are inaugurating the Elevate fundraising series, monthly series. I hope you'll be coming back month after month, but we're kicking it off. So I thought it was appropriate to honor Elevate with a first letter of each bullet, spelling out Elevate. So the bullets may be a little awkwardly worded. We needed a V in there. You don't usually get V bullets, but the points will be made. Don't worry about that. So why is this the place to start? Why do you start with gifts and wills, these charitable bequests? Because these are easily the most popular planned gift. Folks, expect at least 75% of all the planned gifts that you get throughout the horizon of your planned giving fundraising at your nonprofit to be these simple gifts and wills. And I've seen it as high as 90%. These are just the most popular planned gift by far. So there's a place to start, the low-hanging fruit. Second bullet is one of the reasons why they are so popular. Lots of ordinary income donors love it because there's no lifetime cost to your donors. What they're making to you now is a commitment. They promise. They're putting you in their will. They're leaving you a bequest, a gift in their will. As I said at the outset, that isn't a gift of cash to your nonprofit until the donor has died. All right. And I do say death. These are not like death word D, death, died. If you prefer to say passing, moved on, left us, I actually keep a list of euphemisms of death. Like in Shakespeare, shuffle off this mortal coil. Monty Python has some, like kick the bucket. However you want to describe it, I just call it as it is. It's not cash to your nonprofit until the donor has died. Expect that you won't be told. That's because in the US, and I imagine it's similar in Canada too, for every will gift that you know about, there's another 7 to 8 gifts out there that you're not told about. That because it's just so personal and so private to the people that even though they've included you in their will, they're never going to tell you. We give folks lots of opportunities to tell us, right? Check off on a reply box, check off on a reply card. Yes, I've already included you in my will, right? Alongside other checkoffs like I'd like more information or I would consider doing it. One of them is I've already included you. And we give people lots of opportunities to identify that they have done it, but it's just so personal and private to some folks that they're never going to tell you. It's very likely to be cash. This is where I sometimes channel naysaying people. Oh, I have no tolerance for naysayers. Oh, it's going to be so bad. Planned giving. No, we can't ask for gifts and wills because we're going to get left junk cars. That's what our donors are going to leave us. Junk cars in their wills and worthless Hummel collections. Oh, it's going to be terrible. All right, and sometimes, regrettably, those naysayers are on your board. I hate that. First, naysayer, you should think better of our donors that they're not going to leave us junk and worthless assets. But also, this guy Tony M something, I saw him in the Elevate fundraising, M Martin, whatever, I can't remember his last name, but he said that he's been doing planned giving since 1997, and the vast majority of gifts that he's seen are gifts of the very desirable, simple cash. And that is the case. Probably 99% of the gifts I've seen since 1997 are the most desirable gifts of cash. Okay. I'd also direct you to the quantitative research of Professor Russell James at Texas Tech University. Some of you may know him. So if you don't trust my anecdotes, 28 years of anecdotes, okay, put that aside. Russell James studies, his area of expertise is planned giving fundraising, and he has studied this. On average, the vast majority of gifts are gifts of cash in long-term plans of all the entire universe of planned gifts. So going beyond wills, but the vast majority are simple gifts of cash. So you can defeat the naysayers. Oh, it's going to be terrible. You now have a counter for those folks. This is easy for your donors, easy for your staff. That's because there are 3 things about gifts and wills. About wills. Everybody knows how wills work. Everybody knows they need to have a will. And everybody knows that wills are quite simple. And again, the simplest planned gift, but just that they are simple to do. All right. So those 3 things are in your favor. So it's easy for your donors to understand. You don't have to spend time, again, precious resources, educating your donors about the value of, life insurance or charitable remainder trusts. It's simple gifts and wills. It makes it easy for your staff also, and easy for your donors to understand. Second to last bullet, you want to treat your small lifetime donors well. It's very simple. These are your future planned giving donors, right? That's why when we query for the loyalty and the consistency I talked about, we're not worried about the gift size. Be good to your small lifetime donors. they become your future planned giving donors. And exceptional planned giving programs do not need to go beyond bequests. So what my point there is, you don't ever have to expand beyond the simple gifts and wills to go to the more technical gifts like life insurance and charitable remainder trusts. You could, but rest assured you don't ever have to. 25 years from now, your nonprofit is still only promoting gifts in wills and you will in their planned giving program, and you will have a robustly valuable, sustainable planned giving program. You don't have to go further than the simplest gifts, the gifts and wills. So what's the conversation about? This is about the love of your work. This is because that's what you and your donors have in common. You know they love your work because you're talking to your most loyal, committed donors, right? This is not donor acquisition strategy. We're not bringing new donors through planned giving. Not at all. We're talking to our most loyal, committed donors. So you know they love your work and you love your work. And that's what you're having a conversation around. What the two of you have in common. How important your work is in your community. How important it is that that work be sustained for decades and generations to come. How detrimental it would be to your community if your work ceased. And so the gifts that you're talking to your donors about are the gifts that are going to prevent that ugly future from ever happening. They're going to prevent your work from ceasing in the future because these are long-term gifts to your work, to your mission, to your values, to what you're doing in your community. Okay? That's what the conversation is about. So, therefore, it is not a conversation about the donor's death. Not at all. Quite the contrary. It's a conversation about life. The life and sustainability of your work in your community. That's what your conversations are about, whether it's print or digital or face-to-face. The life and sustainability of your work in your nonprofit. So this is a conversation about life. Okay, we've left just about 9 minutes for Q&A, which is coming up very shortly. I'm leaving you with a little continuing ed. If you are a book reader, because I'm not sure this book is digitized because it's older, but Planned Giving Simplified. Not surprisingly, I like simple planned giving. That's why I suggest launching with the simplest planned gift, the most easily understood and most popular planned gift, the gifts and wills. So not surprising, I recommend a book called Planned Giving Simplified by Robert Sharp Sr. And if you want something shorter than a book, I have a free how-to guide PDF, Unleash the Game-Changing Power of Planned Giving at Your Nonprofit. Goes into more detail about some of the things we talked about today and some other subjects as well, like for instance, your recognition society. If you want that PDF, there's the QR code. If for some reason you don't have a QR scanner, you could go to tony.ma/guide, but you can get that, get the PDF, the how-to guide with that code. All right. And that is, all right. So we got 8 minutes for Q&A. Mike, do we have questions? Do we have cues?
We do have a few questions. Are there any preferred channels for reaching out to planned giving target donors?
Preferred channels, you do what your budget supports. So who's that from, by the way, Mike? I like to shout out the person. Thank them. Who's that?
Maliha.
Maliha, welcome. Thank you. Sort of the gold standard is direct mail. If you have people's physical addresses, again, you're going to be writing to committed loyal donors, so your mail is not junk mail to them. They open your mail. But if you can't do that, either you don't have mailing addresses or your budget just doesn't support, then use email, use digital. So I would say the preferred would be direct mail, US, your paper mail. But if you don't have that, go to digital, and also personal meetings, right, with these committed loyal folks, face to face or phone calls.
Got a really hot question here. Most
All
of
right.
our donors are 70 plus. Is it too late to talk to them about planned giving from Julie?
Absolutely not. Jewel, is that from Jewel?
Julie. Yep.
Julie.
Yep.
Julie, absolutely not. I have planned giving conversations routinely with folks in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s. It is not too late. They love your work. No. Unqualified, no. It's not too late. They're ready to have the conversation. People are not going to put you off and say, oh, I'm offended. It just doesn't happen. I've been doing this 28 years. I've never had somebody say, I'm offended, but quite the contrary. When you're having this conversation, right, about the sustainability of your work, about the life of your nonprofit, you're also, Julie, celebrating all their giving that led up to this conversation, how supportive they've been for decades. It's sort of a celebration of their giving to this point that led to the conversation. So,
and it
becomes then, Julie, a natural extension of the giving that they've been doing for so long with you. So, again, unqualified, no, not at all too late. Folks in their 70s, 80s, 90s.
I think that also feeds back in, Tony, to your point, it's 7X or 8X. So for everyone you find, I've always said between 5 and 10, you don't know. And you said 7 or 8. So I think in Julie's case here, it would be there. You could be talking to those 7 or 8 people that you don't know have already left you in your will. So even though you're starting to talk to them later, you might already be in the will, and they're just not going to tell you because Americans are shy about this.
Very true. Yep. As I've said, even if you're included, there are some folks who won't tell you. What else do we have, Mike? What else?
We got another one. What's the language around asking? We can't say put us in your will. So how do you ask? Like I did check boxes on reply, but I'll let you answer that from Caroline.
Caroline, absolutely. Caroline, here's the phrase that I use all the time, whether it's print, digital, or meeting people face to face over a lunch. Would you consider including us in your will? There you go. Would you consider including us in your will? And of course, you don't open the conversation with that, but you're explaining that you're now focusing on your sustainability. You're asking for folks to make long-term gifts. You're asking long-term loyal supporters like because now I'm sort of channeling you and saying, like you, as you're having a donor conversation, we're approaching our long-term donors, folks just like you. Is that something you would consider? Would you consider including us in your will?
That's a great response. You had Robert Sharp's book up there, The Father. I worked with his son, before he passed. But our language was, would you consider, have you already included? And there were 2 different buckets that you did the direct mail response piece. If they've already included, then you can mail them back a certain way. But if they would consider, then you could send them your solicitation piece or about your grouping of how you put in those donors in a bucket, or how are you talking to them?
Mike, can I make a quick parlay off something you just said? When somebody checks a box that says, I've already included you in my will, or they tell you I've already done this. Wow, effusive thanks. If you can pick up the phone, if you have a phone number, effusive thanks. Thank you so much for including us in your will. If you can hug them, a virtual hug, don't be reticent to show your emotion for what they've done. Because remember, they've included you. This woman has included you alongside their husband, wife, husband, partner, children, grandchildren in her will. So be effusive with your thanks as personally as you can.
All right. And Rebecca asked, would it be helpful to offer a free estate planning workshop for donors, prospective donors in an ultra wealthy community?
Could be. Yeah, you have to get a speaker then, someone who's not boring, and there are too many lawyers who are boring on this subject. It's make sure you know who your speaker is. Yeah, there's some value in that. For startup programs though, I like to put the focus the limited resources on having conversations with those most likely folks, because if you start getting into an event, you make this a lunch maybe, or, a gathering, now we got to put together invitations and RSVPs, and we need a venue, and, what's the menu going to be, the venue and the menu, this is all distracting from opening conversations that are valuable directly with the donors. So, you sense my hesitation around putting that together. I'd rather our limited resources in the first several years be devoted to talking directly to donors, one-on-one or digital or print, and not so much, doing event planning.
Well, that leads into a good one from Dave here. Are direct mail donors more likely to make planned gifts than digital?
Are direct mail donors more likely to make planned gifts than digital? No, I don't think so, Mike. Not in my experience. I'm sorry. Who was that from? Dave? Did you say?
From Dave.
Dave, yeah. Dave, no, I don't have quantitative research on that. So now I'm giving you, my 28 years of anecdotes. That's all I got to fall back on. I haven't seen any greater likelihood. No, it's the loyalty and the commitment. You don't need to stratify by any other, by what type of donor they are. Loyalty and commitment. That's what we're looking for.
And Dana asks, can you share more about the importance of board involvement? Is it just participation?
Dana, yeah. I'm not interested in the size of their gifts, because I'd like to go to your other donors and your other prospects and donors around planned giving and tell them that 100% of the board, our most loyal, committed volunteers, the folks who know our work intimately because they are our fiduciaries, they're invested heavily. Each one of them has put us in their will. So I think that's makes a compelling message. Or, if you don't reach the 100% goal, most of them have. But yes, it's more about the participation than the dollar amount.
And looks like we have one more question here. Dave asked, what's the earliest you would bring up planned giving, and how would you introduce that?
Well, I think I already talked about how to introduce it. What's the earliest I would bring it up? Well, again, we're not acquiring new donors. I wouldn't bring it up any earlier than the point where they are a committed, loyal donor. So those types of prospects that we talked about when I was talking about querying your CRM, not earlier than them being a committed, loyal donor.
Okay. Yeah, I've found a lot of luck on the bottom of the reply device. Just please send me information, or I'd like to know more about your planned giving, estate giving.
Yep. And those, you're right, Mike, those checkoffs don't have to go in devoted planned giving mail pieces. They could go in other pieces, but, one or two checkoffs. Please send me information about a long-term gift or a gift in my will to, then the name of your nonprofit. Then that person is self-identified as a good prospect.
Oh, we got another one. Got a thank you from Dana. And then Julie, how do you steward donors who have already told you they've include you in their will? Wills can change. What's the best way to stay connected?
Yep, you're right. Who was that one from?
That was from Julie.
Julie, again, second question. All right. Julie, well, the stewardship begins with that effusive thanks, hug, a phone call, then a formal letter, ideally, I think, signed by your CEO, executive director, thanking them for including you in their long-term plans alongside dear loved ones, how grateful you are for that. That should be an easy letter to write. It could be an even handwritten note. Oh, I'm a big fan of handwritten notes. Maybe your CEO could dash off a handwritten note. Maybe you have to write it for him or her, and then they put it in their own writing, but it doesn't have to be long. Heartfelt, sincere, that overrides length by far. And then, just treat them as insiders. You have maybe you have a major donor communications track. Include them in that. They deserve to be insiders. However, you can include them as insiders. Maybe it's VIP seating at some event. It's not at all related to planned giving, but you can section off a few seats for your planned giving donors as VIPs. There's some low lift ideas for stewardship. Just treat them close. Bring them close. Same way you would for major donors, Julie.
All right. Well, Tony, thank you for joining us. If anybody wanted to get a hold of you, is there a way that they should try to reach you outside of this forum? Would you Would you recommend?
Yeah, I've got my email is tony@tonymartignetti.com. It's a long name, so you'll have, for that you'll have to remember how to spell my name, and tony@tonymartignetti.com, or the website tonymartignetti.com.
All right. Well, that was a very successful first Elevate fundraising in the series, and thank you for being our inaugural guest. It was a great show. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Charity Engine, for hosting, and thank you everybody for joining. Whirlwind, 30 minutes whirlwind.
Yes. Great to see you.